Got here at 7:30, so we started our team early.
Are we able to see what they see?
What is that?
I was just wondering if we're able to see what they see.
I think Kira can see what they see, but.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We're just gonna give it a few minutes, let everybody come on. Please use the chat feature if you can't hear or you have any technical issues so we can try to help.
Close the door in a couple minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I think we can get started. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Eliza Talbot. I am the Vice President of Business Advocacy and Community Relations for the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii. We are coming to you from the Sandbox, the Entrepreneur Sandbox in Kaka'ako. And we're so happy to have Jalene with us this morning. If at any point you can't hear, you can't see something, please try to send us a chat and we will try to fix it as best we can. So on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce Hawaii and the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, we're really excited to have you here this morning. This is our first Innovators Collective Manufacturing Accelerator. It's part of a 4-series program. And next week, Friday, we have Melly James from Mana Up joining us as well. So please come back for that one. We just want to thank HTDC for making this possible. This was made possible through a grant from HTDC as part of their Accelerator program. And they help a lot of technology companies, manufacturers throughout the state really take their business to the next level. So we're really excited to be part of it. And I want to thank Zippies as well because they provided breakfast for us this morning for those of us that are in the room. So thank you so much to Zippies. And I am so excited to have Jalene. I've been able to see her speak a couple times and she's just fantastic. So I'm going to turn it over to Nadia here, that's also on the advocacy team, and let her introduce Jalene.
Thank you, Eliza. Now, without further ado, it is my honor to introduce Jalene Kanani, founder and president of NOHO Home. Jalene is nothing less than a powerhouse. She takes the home decor industry by storm with luxury pieces inspired by her Native Hawaiian background, authentic Native Hawaiian designs. NOHO Home products can now be found anywhere from Bloomingdale's, Hawaiian Airlines, and beyond. Of course, Jalene is born and raised in Hawaii. She began dancing hula at Don Ho's, Waikiki as a keiki, and later traveled the country as a dancer for Tihati Productions. She earned a BA in political science and began her job in furniture, exploring equipment supply and beyond. And that's what began her adventures in textile and inspired her to integrate her Native Hawaiian background into her designs. In 2018, she launched NOHO Home with the line of bedding featuring her distinguished patterns. Her designs evoke a sophisticated island aesthetic reminiscent of her background as a Native Hawaiian growing up here. Jalene and her family have expanded this business and they sell products all over the world and recently established their micro manufacturing facility in West Oahu. She's a recipient of so many awards, including the Hawaii Entrepreneur of the Year, Women Who Mean Business, Island Innovator of the Year, and beyond. She's established the Ohana Scholarship Program that helps college students living in Hawaii who possess a can-do attitude. She has a great story to share with you all, and now it's my pleasure to bring her to the fore. our expert for the Manufacturing Accelerator program, Jalene.
Thank you. Aloha, aloha mai kako. I'm really excited about spending some time with you today, and so I'm going to share a little bit about NOHO Home and how we got started. But I also, hope to learn about the many of you who are watching the webinar, what you are interested in. So just want to keep that in mind as I share with you a little bit about our story, because I do want to see how I can help you in terms of your journey and helping you on your way. So with that, so real quick, am I pressing the, okay.
Or not, you can do it for you.
All right. Actually, can I ask you to do it? Thank you. All right. So that's me.
I think I have a question already too.
Oh, a question. Absolutely. That's really exciting. Or actually, okay, we can.
They were just showing aloha for you.
Oh, aloha. I was sharing that I'm in the perfect no man's zone. Without glasses, I can't see the computer, and so I do welcome everyone that is here. So at NOHO Home, we provide Hawaiian inspired luxury home decor. We like to call it style with aloha. And we tell stories integrated into not only our patterns, but also the collection of products that we bring to market. So we really try to talk about experiential products and collections that can, tell a story and really connect people in authentic ways to the products that they're taking home with them. And so, our core customer, the kama'aina, they have context and they really find their connection. And I put my mana and my ike into it, but at the end of the day, what they experience with our pieces is really what's exciting for me, is how they see it, how they experience it. And then for our visitors, that's actually where I started designing, was in commercial and hospitality spaces. And so being able to put designs and products and storytelling that really connects in a more authentic way. We're all really used to seeing what's out there when you Google Hawaiian decor. For many, many years, other people have been determining what is Hawaiian design. So it's really actually quite exciting to be, as a Native Hawaiian, telling our story. So a little bit about what we actually do in terms of services. For our Made in Hawaii, we're going to really kind of focus on our Made in Hawaii and in the context of the audience, hoping to manufacture. But we'll also kind of talk about overseas as well, and how you think about that moving forward. So our services include custom design and consulting. So we'll work with architects and interior designers with the stories that they want to tell about perhaps place. So we'll take that, and then to be able to kind of extrapolate that desire to share a specific story, but take it down into how can we create product that tactilely really connects, and it feels like, and it was inspired by, and is connected to that story of place, but is also uniquely that of the sentiments that we want to also bring to the design. And now with our NOHO Home direct to consumer, and also our retail pop-up, we're able to bring that storytelling and customization also to the homeowner. Products include our textiles, roll goods. So basically roll goods are, fabric yardage on a bolt. And we specialize in, commercial upholstery. So even the products that we bring to the residential marketplace are actually commercial product. 100,000 double rub, stain and soil protection. And that's just because of my background. I was so worried to bring something out to the marketplace that wouldn't perform. So, we kind of stacked that and we said, hey, we're gonna give the best quality product to everyone. So we also do flooring. So I started designing carpet. That's actually the very first medium that I put my designs into. And that was my career for the greater part of, I want to say, 28 years straight out of college. And that one medium, after I did designs there, designers and end users, developers, they would see these and they would say, hey, can you do that on fabric, or can you do that on wall covering, or have it carved into case goods? And that began my exploration into other mediums. And so I even designed a line of luxury vinyl tile, and luxury vinyl tile is pretty much what everyone has in their homes now. It looks like wood. I was the first in the country to actually put pattern into it. So instead of it just looking like wood or concrete, it actually had a pattern. So these are some of the different mea or products that we bring to life. Top of bed comforters, duvet covers, top of table, tablecloths, napkins, table runners, area rugs. So we provide 100% wool hand tufted area rugs. So really bringing kind of the core home decor items to the marketplace. And we really wanted to be able to speak to our market with some sense of authenticity. But we also wanted, from a quality standpoint, to be able to sit on a shelf next to Ralph Lauren or Nautica or Martha Stewart or Tommy Bahama. And so there was really a lot of thought involved in how we come to the retail marketplace. Our joy in the work that we do is really in our collaborations with the community. And that is, I'm convinced that is why everyone who works with us actually works with us. It is our joy. We have collaborated with the Iolani Palace, Bishop Museum. That was, those were exciting projects, actually started during COVID. And it was really fun. I got a real chuckle out of, okay, I want to tell a story about the imperiled Hawaiian land snails, and people are going to buy it and they are going to put it on their couch, and they're going to explain to people that it is inspired by snails. And it worked very well. Everyone was just really, really excited to have so much thought and purpose. We worked with the malacology department at Bishop Museum, and it was quite an exciting project for us. Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, Hawaii Mission Homes in celebration of their anniversary. We've even done things for Olukai. Because it's a surprise. And Hawaiian Airlines, our Lehoku collection, which is our new collaboration with Hawaiian Airlines. We did the soft goods, we designed the soft goods that are on the aircraft. It was just an incredible joy to be able to tell a really, really big story and bring it into tactile product. And then we're going to be able to continue that through our retail collection that we've done. And as we roll out new products in that collection, we're really excited to continue to tell the story of Kilo, careful and constant observation. These are more of our beautiful goods, and these are part of the Lehoku collection. And basically, we wanted to tell the story of Kilo and how it infers innovation. To be able to have that ability that our indigenous cultures have to carefully observe nature and processes, that is really one of the major ways that we innovate, and celebrating those things that we find in nature that have contributed to the innovation of the aerospace industry. Big topic, little tiny pattern. So our microfactory in Waipio. So we opened a microfactory in Waipio to be able to do made in Hawaii production. I'm going to kind of dig into this a little bit because I think it's pretty relevant for everyone who's watching. I'll tell you a little bit first about what we do. So in the microfactory, we are able to go from concept to design to production and fulfillment on a product, in an afternoon. So that means that we can take inspiration. I do the motif, I hand it off to my graphic designer who puts it into black line patterns. We print it, and we only print, we don't print roll to roll, so the design doesn't go from one side to the other. We only print within these black lines, and those black lines then determine what our seeing laser eye cutter does, cut. So basically, the microfactory is the operations of a factory that are actually in one straight line and can be boiled down to one unit. So we know the cost of every unit that we make. We don't need to always ask the customer, well, how much volume do you have? Because as we'll talk about a little bit later, unit economics typically is a conversation about volume. But what we've done is be able to always understand what our cost is for one unit. And from there are economies of scale via, volume purchasing of raw materials, et cetera. But we always know to make it, we know how much every one cost. We have over 10 employees at the microfactory, full and part-time. And everything from sewing technicians, fulfillment and delivery operations, graphic design, marketing, e-commerce, wholesaling, contract salespeople. It sounds like a lot. It's really not. They will tell you that we are a small and scrappy team, and it is really important that we work very much harmoniously as a team, and and in earnest in everything that we do. We have internship opportunities that we offer from time to time, and we have done them both with high school students and college students, and we also do tours to the interior design community, to our hospitality community, and then also to schools and other trade organizations. And our machinery, I kind of ran through. We have die sublimation printers, latex printers, a rotary transfer heat press, a regular heat presses, sample heat presses, and a seeing eye laser cutter, which is the only one on the island. And basically what that allows is the concept of mass customization. So everyone talks about fast fashion and how it has been, very unsustainable to our environment and to the marketplace, where H&M is, burning clothing. So mass customization is the ability to have as much uniqueness, customizable product at very shallow inventory levels. So what does that mean? If you were to, and I'm going to talk about fashion because this is what was or is the trend for fashion for the future. However, I took that that methodology and I turned it to home decor. And we really were the first microfactory in the country that specialized in home decor. And just to kind of give you an example of what this means, if you were to, in fashion, manufacture, let's say overseas, you would need to order a minimum amount of fabric, and that fabric, let's say, is 10,000 yards. So if you only had, and let's just for easy sake, you only had $1, right, per yard. You're paying $1 a yard. So you have $10,000. You're buying one pattern, one color, 10,000 yards. Now you are going to cut that up, and you are going to make all different kinds, whatever you can make from it. You know, pants, blouses, bags, anything that you can make with that. And for garments, you're going to have to stock that from extra small to 3X. And all of that is going to be an upfront expense that's going to sit, you know, on your shelves until you sell them. And with our approach to mass customization, we actually only put on our shelves 2 to 3 units of every product, because that is what we expect to sell within 48 hours. And we would manufacture, we got an order for, let's say, 3 units were on the shelf, and we got an order for 2 units. We would ship out those, and we'd make additional units. And we can do that we can do it in a day. Typically, we promise our customers within 3 to 5 days if we're out of stock. So this is the philosophy that our microfactory is established upon. But there's lots of different ways to go to market, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. This is a video. I don't know if you're able to, if that will play for you. And if not, we can skip it and we'll see how it goes. Oh, there it goes. So this is just a little insight to our microfactory. Again, NYPO by Costco. So here we have offices, and we also have our manufacturing line, and then we also have our storage for our overseas products. And so we do everything. I start motif development, it goes to our graphic designer who puts them into patterns, whatever those patterns might be, plant pot, pillows, table runners. It gets pressed and then into our laser cutter, sewn, and then also we do our own packaging for all of our made in Hawaii items. And then we pick and pack and ship out across the globe. So it's a lot that goes on, and it goes on at a very quick pace, and again with a really small team. Some of our past projects: hospitality, Four Seasons, Ko'olina, Kahala Hotel, Kaimana Beach, Hilton Hawaiian Village, Marriott, Wyndham, Embassy. Commercial, Hawaiian Airlines, Moani's, Roy's, Waikai, World Wine Shopping Center, Bishop Museum, University of Hawaii, Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Residential, homes across the island, both through the homeowners purchasing from us, and also through the interior design community. And so we really have different revenue streams, very distinctive markets that we sell into. And we're just kind of and we'll kind of talk about why unit economics is important in how you decide to grow. This is an example of one of our installations, and that's the Kaimana Beach on the right, and then a high-end home on the left, or I should say an interior designed home on the left. These are sample cards from our design catalog. We currently have over 175 designs that we've released into our design library. I have probably another 400 designs that have not necessarily seen the light of day yet because it's actually a lot of work to put the designs online because they need a lot of refinement in terms of size, and then putting it into repeat, and then having lifestyle photos that go along with it. And yeah, so this is my favorite part. So hopefully there are some questions that you have. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about me, or our company, but just anything that you find connective to your own experience. After the break, we're going to dive in a little bit more into unit economics and growing your manufacturing business, or quite frankly, starting it. So while I'm waiting for you to put in any questions that you might have, I wanted to talk a little bit about startup. So, when you're looking to start a company, there are a few different ways. You have, it's not even a few, you have many different ways that you can go to market. Are you going to be e-commerce, direct to consumer? Are you going to do wholesale? Is there going to be some component of B2B? I was privy to, so someone in the cohort is a contractor. And so I think a lot of times we think about consumer packaged goods, but even businesses like construction, thinking about how do I start this business, grow this business. It's very rooted in unit economics and how you would be able to really understand what you will need to start and grow your business. Now, once you decide what marketplace you're going to be in, a contractor, that's going to be very much, well, I shouldn't say very much, but it could be B2B if they're doing commercial and they're going to work in the commercial sphere. They're going to show up at industry and trade organizations and events. And that's where they'll, find their potential customers. Or are they going to really focus direct to consumer? They're going to put up a web page. They're going to have some automations where they try to attract customers to them via the internet. And similarly, with if it's a bake shop and maybe you're doing your you're doing it in home, and you are doing it direct to consumer, or perhaps you're doing a craft fair, really understanding how you go from 0 to 60. So how do you go from first just starting your first bits of the business, and then now you're doing craft fairs. Well, okay, now maybe you want to go into commercial kitchen. And those kinds of decisions are going to be very much grounded in how you see your expansion, your markets that you want to go into. If you're going to do wholesale, you're a baker and you're going to do wholesale, you're definitely going to need that commercial kitchen, and you're going to need to expand in that fashion. If you're going to continue and you just want to scale your craft fairs, that's a lot of manpower. And you're probably still going to, for some time, keep a hold on your manufacturing. And you're going to manufacture just enough to sell at your event and sell out, and then you start again. Now, if you really want to scale, then you have to figure out how you can make your product and make your product last. So that you can put it, so that the shelf life of that is not so short. And where are the outlets that you can that you can sell into, whether it be farmers markets or retail establishments, even, tables in hotels where you can, where you can, we can bring your goods, or retailers where, the 7-Elevens of the world who are, will buy your product and sell it in 24 hours. So just a lot of different things as you're thinking through. A lot of times I don't think that people start with growth in mind. You just start because you have a really good idea and you're desiring to, do it. But you don't really think about where you want to go. And so starting with a little bit more of the end in mind is very much a philosophy that many companies are thinking through as they start. Where do I want to end? Do I want to grow a really big business and sell it? Do I want to grow slowly and sustainably, pass this on to my children? Is this a hobby? Or I shouldn't say a hobby, but is it something that's going to be a side hustle? And side hustles are the norm these days. Everyone's got to have one, especially in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So is it a side hustle? And in the context of my experience, so I worked in the corporate world, and this design component was my quote unquote side hustle. And then, once I thought that I had enough credibility, enough designs, and really it was the ending of the passion for my career and the growth of a passion for entrepreneurship, because I really had a passion for entrepreneurship in my corporate life. So the entire time I was working in FF&E, furniture, fixture, and equipment, I was also designing. So that was hand in hand. And I always treated my design work as being influential and like an entrepreneur and helping my corporate life. And it absolutely went hand in hand. It kept me engaged. It kept me to the customers relevant with new patterns and designs for all of the FF&E products that we had. And I get the question often, how do you know when it's time to go off on your own? And I typically tell people, you will know, you will feel it in your now, in your gut, that it's the right time. And you shouldn't go before that. You shouldn't think that, I have to do this and I have to leave my job. No, do it when it's right. Make sure your family is taken care of, make sure your responsibilities are set straight, that you have a cushion to fall on, and then make your way into entrepreneurship. There are lots of options today in the ways that we go to market. So there's, lots to think through.
So I just want to remind everybody to please enter any questions into the Q&A feature. And then Jalene, I know that you have kind of a unique way that you integrated the Native Hawaiian culture into your products. It's very different than a lot of the other products we might see. So can you kind of talk more about that and why you chose to do it the way you did?
Sure, yes. Well, there's a couple of things. So number one, I was very frustrated by what I saw in the marketplace that was being deemed as Hawaiian. I think many can share that experience. And I really wanted to be able to tell some more authentic stories or have the inspiration rooted in things that were, truly of Hawaii. And so that was a really exciting process. Now, I think at the end of the day, for the marketplace that I was in, I think my secret sauce was taking really, really big ideas and inspiration and putting them into an itty bitty little pattern. And being able to tell a story through that pattern, and really not just the pattern, but maybe a collection of patterns. And then the colors, how do the colors infer? How does the textile itself feel? I typically don't have shiny textures. I'm typically working with matte fabrics, unless I'm doing some fabric for maybe Mare Monarch or more fashion oriented, then then we like that luminosity and to bring through the designs. But for home decor, we want to feel natural because Hawaii is very connected to Aina and very nature oriented. So it should feel natural. We rarely use, I mean, not really, never. We never use neons. And actually it's funny because, once upon a time when I would go back and ask my manufacturers for designs, because architects and designers wanted to see them, they would send me things that were made for Miami or the Bahamas, and it would be fluorescent palms and pink flamingos, and that really got to me, and really was the genesis of why I said I'm just going to do this myself. And now we get to really dig in on greater levels. When I first started, I took a lot of direction in terms of what the themes were and that we're wanting to be told. But now I have a little bit more freedom, and I really dig into what my own inspirations are, what seems to be grabbing me in the day, what story I want to tell. And how that benefits our community. So by telling these stories, I think we elevate our community as long as it's done in a respectful and mindful way. And everyone gets to kind of add to that story. So we maybe start a conversation, and then that conversation is what's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, so you found reward in being authentic and being bold and true to yourself. Are you coming across any copycats who are trying to latch on to oh, her design is taking off, I'm gonna the make likes
Yeah, I feel very fortunate. Certainly there's like maybe one thing here or there but quite frankly, I think my design aesthetic is so different, and that I don't see much of it here with my contemporaries. I do see manufacturers who I've worked with in the past. They have very, very straightforwardly just taken designs and used them. And so that was a learning experience. And it's actually why I started my design business and actually incorporated it. This is Jalene Kanani Inc. I started it because I saw in a magazine one of my designs that I had done, but I saw it in the Atlantis Hotel in the Bahamas. Yeah, so that made me pause, and I said, okay, well, it's time to do this the right way. And I incorporated the business. I started copywriting my designs. But that said, I did not burn that bridge. The company that had made my design on their products was one of my manufacturers, and they made lots of other products for me, for the design community. And I said, okay, well, we'll give you this one, but I'm going to set myself up. This is my fault. I didn't do it right. And so I just took ownership of that, and it actually worked out great because from then on I started licensing. I knew up front that I needed to license the designs.
So how did you, I think that's something that's probably kind of intimidating for people just starting out, the intellectual property part of it.
Yes.
Did you hire an attorney right away? Did you start doing it yourself? How did that work?
So I did hire an attorney to do the trademark for Jalene Kanani Inc. And the reason being is I had a couple of really large, so copywriting of designs is one thing. but licensing of a design and more so of a brand is important. So someone can license your brand and they can make their own designs and attach that to your brand name. That is what, Martha Stewart does, J.Lo, etc. So if J.Lo has a bedding line, she's not penning the designs or designing the product for her line. There's a company that has licensed her brand, and they are making those designs. So for myself, I hired someone to do the trademark, and then I learned how to do the copyright myself, and everyone can. It's rather easy. It's just a little time and tedious. And that's basically how I moved forward in that space. Actually, right over there, if you want to pass that to me.
Yeah.
I can just maybe hold it up. Yeah, no worries. So this is one of my licensed collections. It was Jalene Kanani for Durley contract, and this is a good, I want to say at least 15 years old, if not more. But when they licensed my designs, I made the designs, but they also licensed my brand. So it was Jalene Kanani exclusively for Durley contract. And that was also a learning lesson, and I'll just share it with you since we have a little bit of time. What I found out quickly is that when you get too far away from the customer, the storytelling becomes diluted. So if there is a distributor, well, first there's a manufacturer, and then a distributor, and then the salespeople for that distributor, there is a lot of people between you and the end user. And so the story over time either changes or becomes literally non-existent. No one's actually telling the story. I'll move that for you.
We do have a question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll read it aloud. Aloha, Jalene. So many of our entrepreneurs struggle with being a marketeer while trying to grow their business, focusing on their production and operations. Your dynamic marketing strategies have really helped to launch your business. So what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs in terms of keeping pace with marketing? And then there's another follow-up question.
Okay, so marketing. I'll tell you first about me, and then maybe, some things that I might do differently or recommend for others. So we were very grassroots in the sense that we didn't pay for ads, from the get-go. We were very organic, very social. And then we were very fortunate that the community of media got behind us. Because we were doing something a little bit different, and they were willing to tell our stories. And then once they told our stories, then other people wanted to look at the product and see the product and then tell the stories themselves. So we were fortunate to have a lot of that grassroots early on, but then to scale, that's another, that's another animal into how to scale that. But as a startup entrepreneur, I think your greatest ability is to network. So because I'm an older entrepreneur, and actually we just talked about that in the magazine, that I had life experiences and a network. So I had people that I could reach out to and ask questions, and being curious and asking questions is so important. And then telling people ultimately what your goals and your dreams are. So early on, to those people that I, connected with, I would tell them, like, this is where I want to go. Like, this is where we want to get to. And, almost immediately people just start thinking in their mind, like, how can I help you? And, so the Pilina here in Hawaii is really, really strong and quite wonderful, because I promise you that pretty much everyone wants to help you. And they will, if you tell them what it is that, could possibly be of help or use to you, almost always they will try. They will try to connect you or give you some thoughts, ideas, etc. Now, scaling marketing, right? So once you're, and to your point, like, yes, you're trying to make things and you're trying to sell things. Two separate jobs. And then if you're a creative, you're also designing things. So I completely understand that challenge. Scaling marketing is really kind of rooted in unit economics. So if you are able to identify what is giving you the best return on investment, right? And even if that investment is, I had lunch with a friend from high school who works at High Now. And that investment of time and thought resulted in a morning show appearance, right? And then you can't stop there. Well, what did that morning show appearance do for you? Did it increase sales? Did website traffic go up? So what is that return on that spend? Well, if that spend was just an afternoon lunch with a friend, like, that's amazing, and you should call every friend in your Rolodex and have lunch with them. Or you place one ad on Meta and you get a lift. You are getting more traffic. You can count that, more traffic to your website. You are getting more sales. Clearly, you can track that. So was that return profitable? Not just did you get the sales, but then you have to understand, was that sale that I made profitable? Because I also spent money on the ad. I also might have put a discount on the ad. So if I paid for the ad and it cost 10% of what my product is, and then I gave a 20% discount, I've now just discounted my product 30%. So understanding what the true return of your investment of time and energy into marketing will help you identify what you do more of and what you do less of. And I could stop there, but I could also keep going.
You can look at some water if you like while I pitch you the next question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Are there opportunities using AI to assist with marketing that you're seeing in the marketplace? And just your general thoughts on AI?
100%. I like the level of AI that I'm currently able to adopt. So everything in our next presentation was the slides were done in AI. And at the end of the day, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to talk all around it. But instead of me having to write those slides after my dinner last night, when I got home at 10 o'clock, instead of me having to write all those back end of the slides, because the front end of the slides was thank you, Cam, someone else's. But the back end of slides in our next session, those were all AI. And those were done in 20 minutes. And basically it created a framework for what were you doing. Now, so a pitch deck, you can go into AI and you can do a pitch deck. Business plan, there is AI that will prompt you with questions. Do you want to sell into retail? Do you want to sell into contract, wholesale? It'll pitch you up another question. What kind of margins do you want to make? What kind of, maybe what kind of profit do you want to make? How much do you want to scale? What kind of products are you going to sell? And, what do you expect to charge for them? You give it 10 minutes of answers to questions and it will spit you out a business plan with financials. It is amazing. Now, you're going to go back through and you're going to massage that, right? You're going to put in, maybe your storytelling, you're gonna put in, some of your own personal flavor. You're gonna say, oh, wait, this doesn't quite make sense the way it is. I'm gonna change it a little bit. But most people, I know someone who has deliberated over their business plan for what seems like 5 years. And with AI was able to come up with it within 20 minutes. A lot of times, we see things as being these big mountains in front of us that we have to learn about, and we have to get expertise, and we need to go to a night class. No, there's a lot that's out there to help you. Chat GPT. It's kind of my business partner. Whenever I want to flesh through a high level thought, I will talk. I literally just start talking to Chat GPT like a person. I'm thinking about expanding into baked goods. What are the top 3 things that you would tell me are the most difficult if I were to make that change? And it will give you an answer, and it will be pretty good. So AI, like it.
Okay, well, on that note, I think we're gonna take about a 5-minute break, let Jalene kind of regroup. And then when we come back, we're gonna talk more about business strategies and more defined details about how she runs her business and things you need to know.
Sounds good.
Okay, so don't leave, but we're gonna take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at, let's see, 9:57. Okay, we are back. And don't forget, if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A section and we will do our best to get to them. Oh, wait. I think now I'm unmuted. Hi, everybody. We are back and I just want to remind everybody, if you have questions, so please put them in the Q&A and we will do our best to get to them. Oh, we have another one. Oh, this is awesome. Your talk is inspiring. I appreciate and applaud your willingness to share so openly. I'm learning so much so quickly. Very impressive. Mahalo, Katie Meadows.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel good. I really respond to feedback. I was just telling them I could sit in a room with 1,000 people and like getting that feedback right away and answering questions is like my favorite part. So answering questions is my favorite part. So just drop them in. And I will look forward to answering them if I have that knowledge. So we're going to talk a little bit about unit economics. And this is not really something, so you kind of think about it a little bit as you're starting, but, and it's just natural, right? I'm going to make something, how much is it going to cost? And what am I going to sell it for? And that's about as far as you go. Until you get to a certain point, and then you have to dig into truly what that means. So basic unit economics, I'm gonna read this with you, and then I'm gonna kind of just talk about it. So it focuses on the core basic unit of economic is the revenue and the costs associated with producing and selling a single unit of a product or service. It centers, on the product itself. So I'm gonna break that down, right? So you can have a product like a cupcake, or you can have a product like a bedspread, but you can also have a service. So if you are a contractor and your service is drywall, or if you are a doctor and your service is, working with patients. If you are a attorney, these are, and you provide prenuptial agreements as one of your many different products or services. This kind of breaks it down into an actual unit of either a service or a product. The components. So you have your variable costs, direct costs that vary with the level of output, such as materials and labor. So your variable costs are going to be your raw materials, because it's going to be based on how much you're going to use. Maybe certain products you have to maybe make in a different location, so there's added freight, etc. So variable costs. Fixed costs that remain constant regardless of the volume of production, like the rent or your salaries of your people. So fixed costs should, over the course of 12 months, look more or less the same. The variable cost is what's going to be going up and down with the different items that you make. I should say the different items, but the way in which you're making, the volume in which you're making. So it actually really heavily depends on volume in traditional businesses, not mine. And then revenue per unit, the income generated from the sale of one unit. So revenue is kind of like your gross number, right? So if you're selling a bottle of water and you're selling it for $20, that's your revenue.
Expensive water.
Yes, it is expensive water, but I'm pretty sure in some hotel, in the lounge, people are paying $20. Revenue per unit. Oh, sorry. The contribution margin, the difference between the selling price of the unit and its variable costs. This margin contributes towards covering fixed costs and generating profits. Okay, so we call it COGS. What is the cost of goods, or S service, COG or COGS, right? And once you take what it costs, that is specifically towards making that product, what is left becomes your margin. And that is gonna be, you're gonna be using that to pay your rent, pay your salaries. And, you know, at the end of the day, what you get is a profit. That's, you know, you're gonna have a certain profit margin. The objective is to determine the profitability of a single unit of product or service, guiding pricing and production decisions. Okay, so if you have a bottle of water, and that bottle of water cost you, so I'm gonna talk about kind of situationally about what we've just kind of talked through here. If you have a bottle of water, you're gonna make it for $5, you are going to sell it for $20. And so $15 ends up being your margin, and then you're gonna take out your employee salaries, your rent, the cost of the electricity, whatever else you're paying for, that, you know, it doesn't matter if you made 1 bottle today or 10 bottles today, those costs come out. What is left is your profit. So let's say that $10 of that goes to cover your fixed expenses. So now you have $5 left. Now that $5 becomes your profit, and most people starting up are going to reinvest that profit into inventory. And there has to be, so you can do that, right? If you're gonna be at the same scale, if today I'm going to make 1 product and then I'm going to sell that product tomorrow, then I'm going to make 1 more product and sell that 1 product, right? That keeps going, but you're not scaling. Now, what I call old school, which is me, because that was me in the beginning of, you know, my career, is you make 1 widget, or you make 1 bottle of water, and then you sell 1 bottle of water, and then you have enough profit to make 2 bottles of water. And then now you sell 2 bottles of water, and you should potentially, if your margins are right, you should have enough money to make 4 bottles of water. And that's how you scale. Now, the problem becomes is when your margins are off and you're not making enough money to invest in enough inventory to be able to grow. I think for me, a really hard picture to wrap my head around was that if I want to raise revenue by 100%, I have to raise inventory by 100%, which means the cost of inventory is 100%. Do I have that? You know, do I have enough money to add 100% of my current inventory, you know, over the course of, you know, 6 months, 1 year, etc. So that's why it's so very important to really understand the unit economics and employ it on the front end. Work through that, make sure that your margins are correct, etc. Or not correct, but there's enough room in there. Can we switch to the next slide? Now, kind of continuing on the unit economics approach. So customer unit economics, right? So we just talked about unit economics for a product. Customer unit economics kind of zooms out a little bit, and it looks at the economics from the perspective of acquiring and servicing a single customer. It's more about the relationship between the business and its customers over time. So the components of this, and you know, I'm gonna stop right there. Okay, so to break this down, instead of thinking about the bottle of water, we're thinking about ku'ule, who's buying the bottle of water. And is she only gonna buy 1? Or is she gonna buy more than 1? Is it likely, right? That we're dealing in probabilities. Is it likely that based on past customers, when I get a new customer, they typically either buy, they're repeat buyers, and they typically buy 3 to 5 over the course of, X amount of time or the lifetime. So ku'ule, how much did it cost to get ku'ule to buy your bottle of water to begin with? So that is what you're thinking about. You're thinking about ku'ule, you're thinking about the relationship with ku'ule and how much it costs you to get it, how much it's gonna cost you to keep it, and what she's gonna provide to your business from a revenue perspective over a certain amount of time. Hopefully, that explains it. So the components of this, customer acquisition costs. So the total cost of acquiring a new customer, including marketing and sales expenses. Break that down a little bit, right? So a lot of times we forget about some of these expenses that we have to acquire a customer. And a good illustration of that was the ad I talked about, right? So maybe we put a Facebook ad up. Well, that Facebook ad, we just talked about the $20 bottle of water. So the bottle costs $20. Or sorry, you're gonna sell it for $20. You're gonna pay for the ad, and the ad ends up costing you $1 per bottle that's sold. And then you also, in order to entice them, you gave them a 20% discount, right? So the 20% discount is $4. So now $5 has just come off the top of your bottle of water. That is your customer acquisition cost, $5. Because in order to get her, you needed to give her a discount and you need to pay for an ad. So you need to think about that as the cost of acquiring ku'ule. Alternatively, sorry, I'm just gonna give you a little bit more. Alternatively, you could have acquired ku'ule because you got interviewed for a you're at the sandbox, someone interviewed you and put you in the sandbox newsletter. And that newsletter went out to 10,000 people, and ku'ule saw your ad and she went online and she bought your product, right? There were not necessarily any hard costs associated to acquiring her in that way. There are some other costs that you could potentially, creep together, but for the most part, there were no hard costs. And that's typically the case for true earned media or public relations. Okay, the other component to be able to identify the unit economics is the lifetime value of ku'ule. The total revenue expected from a customer over the duration of their relationship with the company. Now, these are predictive, and they're going to be predictive based on past customers. So if, let's just say you've been in business for 1 year, you're going to look back for the last year and you're going to say, okay, last year, and I'm going to make this real simple, I had 10 customers. And of those 10 customers, 5 of them only bought 1 time. And then 3 of them bought 2 times. And 2 of them bought 5 times. You're going to take that and you're going to average that. And then you're going to apply that average looking forward. So you're going to assume that your new customer ku'ule is worth, or is going to buy, let's put it this way, is going to buy X amount of product over her lifetime, of your water. So that's that number there. Then the retention and repeat business, I just talked about that. So factors that influence the ongoing relationship with the customer affecting their lifetime value. So what affects that? What do you have to do to make sure that ku'ule comes back? There's a term called remarketing. Remarketing is marketing to people who are already customers. It is, in today's business world, the most important type of marketing because typically it costs so much to get a new customer. And if you're able to hold on to your existing customers through a lower amount of cost and spend, you're gonna be much more profitable. So remarketing is basically what you have to do to your current existing customers to create pilina and relationships so that they keep coming back to buy. So some of the things that we do, well, one of the things that I think people really appreciate is that we really focus on customer service. And you'll get, during the hours of 9 to 5, for the most part, you will get, some live help. You can call a phone number. Most e-commerce businesses don't put a phone number on their websites, but we put a phone number on there. We've got an address to, pick up at our warehouse. And all of these things, because they are slightly, different from other D2C brands, they create relationship. And then even more than that, when you're out in the community, when you do a pop-up, when you send maybe VIP customers a special discount, or anything that you do to continue to strengthen that relationship. And then from a pure marketing play, like sending them text messages, hey, we're launching a new collection, early entry, you get a free gift with purchase, for our core VIP customers. So those are the types of things that you need to do to retain that relationship. So I will say that in this day and age, customer economics is really the benchmark, because it looks at your business more holistically over time, and it can really focus on how you perfect your it's not perfect, but how you scale. Next slide, please. So comparison and connect. Short-term versus long-term perspective. Basic unit economics can be seen as a more immediate assessment of profitability, while customer unit economics takes a longer view, considering the entire life cycle of a customer relationship. We kind of talked a little bit about that, right? So customer relationship, we're thinking long-term unit economics. We're like, what am I going to do this month? How am I going to be profitable this month? And let me just dig into that for a minute. Okay, so investment. The investment into the customer comes a little high on when you do it through the customer unit economic approach. You're gonna sometimes in some businesses, and actually this is pretty norm with larger businesses, right? But we're all, I think, very small businesses right here. But they're gonna lose money on the first sale, maybe even the second sale, because it costs that much for them to acquire that customer. But because that customer's lifetime value is gonna be, $1,000, and your product is $20, the first 2 bottles of water for $20 might, not be profitable. Now, local kind style, we do this. Local kind style is, oh, hey, here, try my water. And that's it, right? Like we're just giving it to our aunties and our cousins and our friends. So we are engaging in this. We're just not tracking that cost. All right, so product versus customer focus. The former is more focused on the product and is an associated cost and revenue, whereas the later emphasizes the customer's overall value and the cost related to acquiring and retaining them. I said that, I just said it differently. Synergy. Both perspectives are crucial for a holistic understanding of a business's financial health. Optimizing basic unit economics is essential for ensuring that each sale is profitable. Meanwhile, understanding customer unit economics is key to making strategic decisions about marketing, customer service, product development, and maximizing the lifetime value of each customer. Okay, so when you have an eye on these metrics, right? okay, so my bottle of water is $20. It cost me $5. To make it. Now to acquire a customer like Ku'ule, it's gonna cost me $5. And so now I think about that. Well, how many ku'ules do I want? How many ku'ules can I afford to buy right now, right? How much money you got in that bank? So it could be infinite. Let's just go buy all the ku'ules in the world. Well, you can't because you don't have that much money in your bank. Now, that's how big companies go get customers. They buy them, right? You see them. They're on ads everywhere. They're on the Super Bowl, right? They're on your Instagram and TikTok scroll, and they are just blowing money, and they're hiring, the Kardashians to show you their product, right? They have infinite amounts of $5 to spend. We don't. So we have to say, okay, I have enough money. I have $100. So how many ku'ules can I get for $100, right? My budget is $5 per new customer. So now I have to then decide, okay, how am I going to employ that $5? And that's what you can understand when you understand the unit economics of both your product and or through the lens of a customer acquisition, and the profitability of that. So, okay, next slide. Okay, so we just kind of talked about financial growth, right? We didn't talk about financial, we're about to, but we talked about how it costs money to acquire your new customer. So, and we don't have infinite amounts of money. And we used to always hear like, oh, it takes money to make money. But I don't know that how many people like actually dig into that. You just think like, oh, rich people get other more rich people. But it's true if you really like think into the metrics of it. If you have money to invest, then you can grow faster. And that's all it is. It's leveraging time. So if you don't have money, industry was built on companies that made one widget and sold one widget, and then made two widgets and sold two widgets. And then at some point when they're selling so many widgets and they have no more cash, maybe they go to the bank and they borrow a little bit of money. And then they paid it back. This ecosystem that we have now for startups, et cetera, is much different than that, but that is still super valid. So if time and trajectory are not an issue, then you can grow slow. Me personally, I'm kind of somewhere in between because I'm kind of, I'm 53 now, so I gotta get moving before I retire. But finances. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about finances in the context of growth strategy. So assessing needs, forecasting costs and cash flow. Estimating the financial requirements for scaling, including operations, marketing, and expansion costs. So we talked a little about this, right? We talked about if we're gonna scale, we have to scale our production. And therefore we have to scale our raw materials. That's gonna cost us almost in relationship to the percentage of what you want to scale when it comes to raw materials. So raw materials is gonna be even. I wanna grow 100%, I'm probably gonna have to spend 100% more. Maybe there's some economies of scale. You get a little bit of discount on your raw materials because you're buying it in more volume. So maybe it's like 80% more investment, but that's almost a line to line item right there. Versus, let's say marketing. Well, I'm gonna skip marketing. Let's say sales, okay? So say you have a salesperson and that salesperson currently takes 3 orders a day. Can that person take 6 orders a day? Probably. That's not a huge jump, right? So you don't have to go and hire a new salesperson. So that is not going to be an equal to equal line item. You don't have to pay 100% more to scale that person. What about the electricity? And I should take that back because that's a fixed cost, but that comes into play, right? How much more electricity might you have if you're going to be running your machines 24 hours versus just 8 hours a day? So, so all of these costs of scale are really important to understand as you're making your growth plan. Now, we kind of talked about the trajectory of like money and cash flow, right? So if you're going to make these big leaps and jumps and invest in inventory, raw materials, and marketing. So marketing is that thing that is going to need to be exponentially scaled in order to find 100% more customers. So as these costs increase, you have to meet that or you just can't scale. And something I had heard before, but I never really truly understood it. Or like it wasn't my problem for most of my life. And then it became my problem. And then I figured out why people say it. They said, when you're out of cash, you're dead. So the business is dead. Okay, you're fine. You're good, keep your mental health, like you're all good. But your business is going to stop when you're out of cash. And what does that really mean? It means that if payroll is due, right? If you spent on inventory because you have this opportunity, and so you spent a lot of your cash, but now payroll is coming, and they hit at the same time, and you don't have the money to pay all of that, you basically stop. So if you don't have a credit line, you don't have a savings, you don't have something to dip into, you come to a standstill, right? So it's very important to understand those peaks and valleys. So funding options. So you have bootstrapping, right? Most of us are bootstrapping. I bootstrapped, and there's another term I wanted. There's another term for it, but anyway, bootstrapping. So you're funding growth through existing profits. So, like the $5 that we were profiting on the water, like that's the only rate of growth that we can have. And focusing on cash flow optimizations, right? So bootstrapping, you have to be totally focused on when your money comes in and when your money goes, right? So you need to know when you have to pay for that PO for the raw material, and then you have to know when you're going to actually get cash from your customer for the sale. And I'm going to throw this in, hopefully it's not confusing, but different types of businesses run in different ways. And I'll give the example for ourselves. Our contract business, we get a deposit. And so deposit normalizes our cash flow because it gets to help us pay for our expenses. But our retail business, our D2C business, we don't have that. People just come, they show up, and they pay right away, which is great because they're paying. It's not like on credit, like wholesale. Wholesale wants to pay you 30 days after they receive your product. So not only do you have to have inventory, but you also have to give it to them, and then they don't pay you for 30 days. D2C, you have to pay for the inventory in advance, but then they're going to pay you, the minute that they order it. And if you're actually making on demand, then you might be able to make it after. So that's basically like the focus that you have to have on your cash flow when you are bootstrapping. Venture capital. So pitch to industry-specific venture capital firms, highlighting growth potential and competitive advantage. So this is what everyone hears about now, right? And then I kind of joke, old school is like 1 widget, 2 widgets. New school is I go to a bar, I scribble on a napkin, I show it to the guy next to me who is a venture capital banker, and he funds my idea. and I exit with lots of money. So like, that's the two paradigms. I think as Indigenous entrepreneurs, small businesses in Hawaii, we live somewhere in the middle, for sure. But yeah, that's venture capital. And venture capital is going to become important when you want to scale at a rate that outpaces your personal finances and the finances of your business. Angel investors attract individual investors with a clear profitability path and exit strategy. So angel investors are not, they're not as focused on a timeline and certain profitability. Typically angel investors are more about, like, do I really resonate with the business? This might be a friend or family that, you know, has excess funds that they have to invest in the business. And it's not quite as structured. But again, it is bringing outside money, and you will have to return them something, and whether it's equity or some rate of return. But it's all very malleable, very negotiable. Whereas venture capital is pretty, I want to say institutionalized. They have a lot of metrics that they have to meet, and a lot of due diligence that has to be done. Bank loans, secure loans with a solid business plan and strong financial records. Okay, business loans. Let me talk a little bit about business loans. So, in order to get a business loan, you have to show a profit. The bank's not going to give you a loan if you were 3 years with no profit, right? So for those people who are starting up a business and you don't want to pay taxes and you're writing off everything, good luck with that. Because you're going to take your tax returns, you're going to take it to the bank, and the bank's going to be like, you don't make any money. How are you going to pay back the loan? You're not, and they're not going to give you money. So be very careful with that, right? The IRS will let you take losses. It's like, I think it's 3, I'm not giving advice, but I think it's something like 3 years you can take losses before they start categorizing you as like a hobby and not a true business. So be careful with that. When a underwriter / bank is looking at your application, they want to be able to know that are you going to be able to pay it back? You know, these monies, this credit line. So again, they're going to look at your current financials, and then they're also going to look at your projections. Now, remember we talked about ku'ulei and, you know, how much business that we looked at last year, and, you know, acquiring ku'ulei, the profitability of ku'ulei. Now I'm going to scale ku'ulei this year. You got to show them that. You have to show them that financial projections and the projections of your business moving forward. So SBA loans, utilize favorable government-backed loans for small businesses. So an SBA loan still runs through banks here locally, but they provide the what do I want to say? The safety to the bank that their money will be guaranteed. The banks just kind of do the functional work around it. And their rates are super advantageous. They changed during COVID. They made this insane rate of like 3%, and for 30 years. And it's basically, which you're not allowed to do, but basically if you took that money and you put it in a CD, and you're not allowed to do that, but if you did that, you would earn money from that money higher than what you were paying in interest, but you're not allowed to do that. Point being, great interest rate over the long haul. But keep in mind, something that I think businesses and me, I had a hard time wrapping my hand around is like, you have to spend that money. Like, you don't want to have it in your account just so that you feel good. Like, oh my God, my business is so good because I have all this cash in the bank. No, number one, you're paying for that money. And number two, in order for you to grow, you have to spend money. And by the way, if you go to the bank and you have money and you don't show a reason that you need money, they're not going to give you money either. So it's a lovely catch-22. Crowdfunding. Launch campaigns on platforms like Kickstarter for product funding or equity crowdfunding for capital. So I know a few businesses that have started this way. It used to be the Kickstarter where it's like a product and then everyone just like, puts in money and then you make that product. And now it seems to be more the fashion to put your business and then let people buy into your business. And so that's really powerful. There's some local companies that are utilizing that to not only uplift themselves as a business, but uplift the community to be able to micro invest. Ola Brew is, wait, it is Ola, right? Yeah, okay. Grants, apply for small business grants with detailed proposals aligning with grant criteria. Okay, so yes, grant is free money, kind of. So it's free to the extent that you have to perform, there's something performative in that, right? So they may say, okay, we'll give you this grant money, but we need to have, and there's a range of things. We need to have metrics, or you need to do a certain amount of productivity, or you need to provide training to the community, or whatever it is that they want, that they may want in exchange for the monies. That will vary from very little to a whole lot. Now that said, again, it is free money. And don't make a business plan on it, but take advantage of it when you can. Okay, so do not, if you want to be a for-profit business, do not make your business plan on grants, but do take advantage of them when they come up. Okay, is another slide. All right, using funds wisely. So strategic allocation, direct funds towards high impact growth activities and resources. Okay, well, how do we know what's high impact? We know what's high impact because we track the ROI. And we understand our unit economics for making a product, and we understand our customer economics by tracking it over time. Okay, so preparing for investment, financial and legal readiness, ensure accurate, organized financial records, and understand legal funding implications. Okay. There's a tremendous amount of due diligence involved, and due diligence basically means work, investigation, things that that has to be looked into, fleshed through, etc. When you're going to go to the bank, or you're going to go to a venture capital fund, or even angel investors maybe. So you have to have your paperwork in order. Now, what does that mean? It means that you need to have readily available and accessible your incorporation, your tax certificates. You need to have your bylaws if you're a corporation, an S corp, a C corp. If you're an LLC, you need to have all of that documentation. If you're a corporation, you have to have meetings. You have to have those minute meetings. And don't freak out, they're not as bad as you think, but just keeping it intact is one thing. There are online platforms that will send you a folder kit, and it will basically, you send maybe some information to them, and then they digitize it and put it in there. Anyway, there's lots of ways to kind of streamline and cut down the manual labor associated with that. AI. Okay, so one more thing I wanted to kind of say about that. Attorneys are not inexpensive. So you really want to again, like create relationships with people that you meet all the time. So, and be proactive in, reaching out, asking questions, right? So if I was a lawyer giving this presentation, like, I want to see 100 questions, because that's free, I mean, this is an opportunity to get free information, right? So that if I was an attorney, like the Q&A should be lighting up. This is a little bit of an aside story, but I wake up at 3 a.m. to get the latest in industry, e-commerce, and marketing knowledge. Because why? Because all the people who live and breathe and only think about these topics are not in Hawaii, right? We're trying to live a balanced life here and enjoy ourselves. So those people who are living and breathing that, they are elsewhere. So I'll wake up and I'll watch a webinar from London. I'll watch a podcast, or like a live podcast where you can ask questions. If it's not a Q&A opportunity or a one-on-one opportunity or a live opportunity, forget it, I'm gonna sleep. Because I can always watch it later and digest that. But for me, what's really important is to get my question answered. So, and never be shamed for that. Like, just ask all the questions. And so I'll wake up at 3 a.m. so that I can understand what the latest, like, Google change in algorithm means, and therefore what I should do about it. Like, I just don't want to know that it was changed, but I want to know, what can I do that, gets in front of this, right? And that's how I find out these things. So balancing equity, I just went on the side there, balancing equity, control, and debt. So maintaining balance, strategically manage equity dilution and debt to remain in control and avoid over leveraging. Okay, so at the point in which you are going to the bank for money, and to a greater extent when you're going to investors for money, you're giving up something. Like, you're not just getting something, you are giving up something. And with the bank, you're giving up interest, right? So you're gonna go to them and you're gonna get $100,000, but you're gonna give them back $100,000+ for whatever your interest rate is, right? So it is a transaction. And if that interest rate that you have is not accounted for in your profitability, then you're going to be over leveraged. Okay. So literally, when you look at your fixed expenses, guess what? That's a fixed expense. Your debt service. Your debt service is a fixed monthly expense that you have to pay to be able to use that $100,000, which is why you don't keep it in the bank. You spend it. You spend it on something that is going to make you money. Now, and then with VC, so with VC, they're going to take your company, a portion of it. Now there are some new fangled ways that people kind of talk about non-equity venture capital investment, usually a loan, or they just call it a grant. So they're gonna want a portion of the company, and that's gonna be based on the value of the company. And so they're gonna look at your company, they're gonna look at your revenue. How much revenue are you making? And in the amount of time that they're gonna give you to scale this company, how much could you potentially be? Are you gonna go from having, $500,000 in business today in 3 years to 3 million? Usually the venture capital time outlook is 10 years. And everyone kind of hears like 10x. And that's different for every segment. So if you're tech, there's an exponential amount of return that they expect to have, which also comes with exponential amount of loss that they expect, right? So the likelihood of a tech company blowing up and becoming Uber, is like this. But when you hit that, it pays for all the other losses you had. So that's a really layman's view of how they operate their portfolio for tech. But investors who are investing in, say, CPG, they know that that rate of growth and that unicorn type of situation is not there, but that these are like products, they're good, these are good companies, they should scale, and so they invest in that. And that really helps them to bring down the amount of return that they're expecting, because their risk is not quite as great. So anyway, different markets command different deals, so to say. But what you want to do is make sure that they're not taking, at minimum, they're not taking more than half your company, right? So you never want to be, not the, the lead investor until you're ready to sell your company. That said, this has been a mouthful. Do we have one more screen while I'm kind of saying my aloha here about this portion? I want to entertain questions. So if you haven't already, like, throw them up in there. Do we have any?
We do have
Okay.
one on standby. So, incredible amount of information. Thank you so much, Jalene, for sharing all of this. I'm wondering if you can talk a little more about the marketing knowledge you're gaining at 3 a.m.
Oh.
What are you learning in these sessions?
Yes, okay. So, this is so good. All right. So when it comes to marketing, you have so many choices that you really have to focus in to what is manageable, right? From time and money, right? Because you can do PR, you can do paid ads, you can do SEO, you can do SEM, right? Search engine marketing versus search engine optimization. What's the difference? Money. There's lots of different ways that you can affect change in marketing. You have to pick out, there's a book, I want to say it's called Traction. And there's 19 different, marketing channels that they talk about, and they talk about, like working on 3 at a time. But, so what you're looking for is, I'm looking for is tactics that are being used by others who are successful and achieving, good goals, right? So, and how this happens at 3 a.m. is, let's say Google is putting on a webinar, and they are having on Nike, like their marketing, their marketing CEO from Nike. And so Nike's saying, okay, so what we're seeing, now with the inability with the changes in ISO 14 and the inability to track people this way, blah, 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 we're really focusing on content marketing, right? Okay, content marketing. Okay, what is content marketing? It's basically putting content and attaching your product to it. It doesn't even have to be about your product, right? But they're putting out just good stories, good content. I always love like Gooch and Toyota and Zarco, like awesome stories, right? And then maybe they show you the truck. But so Nike says, yeah, we're really digging into content marketing. Okay, great. What kind of content? Where are they going to put it? What's working right now? Okay, so the CEO then says, well, what we're finding really effective is content about families. So content about families, and then we want families to share it within their family. Okay, how do you do that? And then they'll say something like, well, we put out content that if the mom sees it, the mom wants to show her kids. And and so when we think about where we put this content, we need to put it on a platform that both mom and kids are on, right? So that's not Facebook, because kids ain't on Facebook, and that's not on TikTok because mom's not on TikTok just yet. But that's Instagram. Okay. And how are we gonna like turn that into like a sale, right? We've got the content, we've got both people looking at it, they're sharing it with each other. Well, we're going to put a link to an offer. So we're going to give them, a 20% discount if they buy more than one pair, right? Because we want the whole family to have these matching Nike shoes that we just launched. So stuff like that are like really tangible things. And so what do I take from that? I say, okay, right? If I want, because basically our bedding, right? Moms love our bedding. Kids love our bedding, but they don't buy it, but they want it. So on Instagram, we could potentially do what they did, and then we could potentially offer the same kind of offer they did. Like that's the kind of thing and that's just, I completely made that up, but that's the kind of thing that you could potentially get at 3 a.m. You could also get legal advice at 3 a.m. right? So some of the best minds in IP, right, are going to be in DC or New York, where they're constantly working with large companies. And so they're going to tell you things like, oh, you now not only need to have a trademark for your logo, but you also need to address the colors, the colors of your logo or your website or whatever. I don't know, I'm making it up. But again, like these are things that you can capture at 3 a.m.
You mentioned a book that may be called Traction, Google Webinars.
Be careful, because there's 2 books called Traction.
Oh.
Yeah, so you have to find the right one, and maybe I can give you some of that and you can send it out.
Yeah, help disseminate it, of course. They also want to know, can you share more of your favorite resources to learn from?
So I'll just kind of say that I am a lifelong learner. I love to learn. One of my favorite resources right now is ChatGPT, mostly because it's so interactive, and I don't feel like I'm spending money or like putting anybody out. So in this age of everyone is a consultant and everyone's paying you, like everyone's trying to be a consultant or is a consultant, and therefore their time, because before I used to be like, let's go lunch and you tell me everything you know and I buy you lunch. But now, if that's the person's profession, you should pay them. So on those moments where I'm just like, I'm just trying to have a conversation, I love ChatGPT for that. Resources in the community that are amazing, the Chamber of Commerce, volley that. And not only like the resources that they put out, but also the network that they have, right? So when my oldest daughter went to college at University of Oregon, I forced her to go to the Chamber of Commerce meeting in Eugene, Oregon. And I said, you go and you meet people. And she was like, are you serious? But then she did it, and she continued to do it. And she made a lot of like nice relationships with like business people in the community. So when she applied for a job that was well above her like current stature and pay grade, like she got the job because she had like, she had some friends now who gave her, nice things to say or say about her. Then again, back to around town. So the Women's Center through the YWCA downtown, the Women Business Minority, I always get the acronyms all messed up, but they have wonderful programs there, which I'm sure they'll provide links for. And so that's kind of twofold, where number one, you like literally have classes. So they'll offer you marketing, tips, e-commerce tips, and it'll be like, for 3 to 6 weeks, and you get together on Zoom. And it's really instructional, and you can get scholarships to be able to do that for free. And then when you're at a certain, then there's a Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. And there's the West Oahu Economic Association, Economic Development Association. They will start you from scratch. When you get a little further in your journey, and if you're CPG, there's Mana Up, which is a sponsor, and it will be here. Melly will be here, I think, the next time. And then Hawaii Technology and Development Corporation. So they are really great because they put out a lot of their resources lately has been curtailed into courses. So they have courses that are being taught about all different sectors of business, from industry and production to marketing and e-commerce and exporting. And yeah, so there's a plethora of people who want to help you and agencies who want to help you with your journey. So yeah, let's see, how are we doing on time? Any more questions?
Last call for questions. That's it for now.
Last call for questions.
All right, well, on that note, Jalene, thank you so much. I think everybody got a lot of information, and just in case you were worried that you missed something, we did record this, so it will be available. We'll also post it to our website, cochawaii.org, so you can watch it on demand. And then I just want to thank HCDC again for giving us the space and for making this possible today. Next Friday, we will start at 10 a.m. with Melly James from Mana Up. And then April 12th, we'll have Olin Lagan from Purple Maya. And then May 10th, I believe it is, we will have Jalene back again to finish up and add a few more things. And then we'll also have representatives from the Small Business Administration here to answer your questions as well. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. If you have more questions that we didn't answer today that you want to get to Jalene, you can email us at info@cochawaii.org. And thank you. Have a great weekend.
Aloha.
Thank you.